Hey, gang, coming up on our Finding Better podcast is a wonderful conversation with Jay Jacobson, who's a funeral director. And we're going to talk about all things how to become a better person, that better person that you want to become, and how to use AI to become that person you want to become. It's amazing. It's wonderful. We're going to give you tips, and it's just very, very cool. Something that you're going to get a lot out of and something you want to share with folks. Okay. Please share this. It's going to change somebody's life out there. And subscribe because when you subscribe, it's free and it helps us get our messaging out to a whole lot more people. Okay. Here we go. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And this is where we share real life experiences of people who have been there and done that. Because sometimes the best path to success is to follow in the footsteps of others who have done what you've already done, right? It's a great. We're going to have great conversation today. My guest is Jay Jacobson, and Jay, welcome to Finding Better podcast.
John, it's good to be here with you today. I'm pleased to be on your podcast.
I love it. I love it. Listen, Jay, we're going to talk about people today. We're living in an age of AI, as we all know, right? And as AI advances and does all of the things that intelligence requires, right? Really, the only thing we're going to have left is our relationships and our human connection, our humanity. And you guys have heard me say this over and over again. So today we're going to talk about that.
Mhm.
We're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about people. We're going to build on that baseline of, how do we get back to our humanity? How do we get back to bringing a little more heart into the world? And we're going to fold an AI conversation into this. So, Jay,
Yes.
love having you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and but before you do that, tell us what my audience is going to learn from you.
Well, today we're going to talk about leading by legendary example.
Good.
And it is a process whereby we bring out our humanity. We learn to help focus more about how we make other people feel versus how we feel ourselves.
Good.
And I've outlined some very strong principles on what makes legendary leadership. Things like present, being fully with the people that you're in the room with, having the integrity to stand for what you believe in, having the vision, understanding yourself well enough to know who am I, what are my values, what is my mission, and what do I want to accomplish in life, and and being in terms of servanthood, being a servant leader, helping those that are around you to succeed, being as invested into others' success as you are your own self. And then we look at adaptability and how do we pivot. And if we know who we are, if we know what our vision and our principles are, it's easy to pivot without losing ourselves.
It
And
just all
finally,
ladders up to it, one after
all
the other.
ladders. And then
Right.
finally, the mentorship that has to be part of leadership. You have to be able to convey the knowledge that you have to the next generation.
So what you're talking about when you talk about leadership, okay, I want to distill it down to a very simple thing. Because when people hear the word leadership, they think about business, they think about executives, they think about, right? I mean,
Exactly.
leadership is people. Leadership is your kids. Leadership is, I mean, one of the things leaders, they say lead by example. Well, the fact of the matter is, whether it's a good example or a bad example, you are leading by example, right?
Exactly. And and a lot of people confuse leadership with a title. I mean, your manager, your
Right.
boss, your owner, your the CEO. Those are titles. They are not leadership. You are not a leader unless people are willing to follow you and want
Okay.
to follow
So
you in the direction that you want to go.
let me just share a quick story. You want to do
Yes.
something fun, okay?
Sure.
I do this all the time. I'm an impatient man when it comes to crosswalks, right?
Mhm.
And I'll be in a city or I'll be someplace, and a bunch of people will be lined up waiting to cross the street, and there are no cars coming. There are no
Right.
cars coming,
Right.
right? and then I'll just go. And it is amazing. 100% of the time, when people see me going, they go too. And I turn around and I got this whole crowd of people just following me, right? Right across the street. And it's like a lot of times people need permission, quote unquote permission,
Well,
right?
John, I have permission. My name's Jay, so I'm allowed to jaywalk.
There you go. There you go. So I'm sure you've done that all that. But to your point, right? I mean, people follow and just something
Yes.
as simple as that
Yeah.
example. It's crazy.
And
Yeah.
it's difficult for a lot of people. I mean, we are taught from very early on to be rule followers. And it's in a lot of
Yes.
ways it's counterintuitive to true leadership. Leaders bring people to areas that they're not comfortable going, but they become comfortable because the leader that is plowing the way leaves the comfort behind them. And so those people feel secure in knowing that I'm not alone. And that's really
Right.
what leaders do the very best is they make sure those around you understand that they're not alone, that they are supported, that even when they make mistakes, you're there to help them succeed and you're invested in their success.
And you give them permission to mess up, right?
Yeah, you give them permission to fail, and that transfers very easily over to parenting. You raise your kids, and you give them an environment where they fail, where they have the safeguards of a parent to help
Now,
them understand their failure, to give them perspective on what happened and how to avoid it in the future. Versus parents who are not invested in that, the child is left to their own devices to try and figure out the world. And that really isn't the best way to lead.
yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because it is, I mean, leadership with kids to me is like the ultimate form of leadership.
Yes.
I mean, it is the ultimate challenge of leadership because guess what, folks? Um, those kids, when they grow up,
And
they're going to be just like
right. And
you
we're
know?
at a very interesting paradigm in our society right now with kids, particularly kids that are 18 to 20 years old.
Yep.
We have a crisis of communication in this country in terms of young adults being able to understand body language, to understand how to read a room. And it traces back to the change in our culture, where at age 13 to 20, when they naturally develop those skills, we've handed them a cell phone. And so
Yes.
now their communication is focused on a little 4-inch screen instead of learning the facial expressions, learning the tone of voice, learning the body language that's going on in the room, like most of us in our generation learned. They don't learn it now. So a good deal of my time is spent in helping those young people coming into the workforce in developing those skills. And they can be taught. They're much more difficult when you get into your 20s and your 30s to back off and start understanding those nonverbal cues, but you can learn them.
So what can you share with my audience in terms of, in terms of helping young people like that? Because you're right. I mean, the smartphone, the iPhone has been a wonderful thing, but the bane of many people's existence. And you think back, one of the things that I see and you hear all the time is gosh, there's just so much hate in the world,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you see, 30 somethings in their parents' basement still living at home.
Mhm.
And you see the rise of mental illness happening. And a lot of that can be traced back to this crazy thing.
Exactly. And for parents today, one of the best recommendations I can give them is for 1 hour a day, when you sit down at the dinner table, there are no cell phones. The cell phones go in the other room. So you are forced to interact at a level that most families no longer do. You look at each other in the eye, you have a conversation, you understand what their day has been like. But those moments are teaching moments, and we lose those when we are distracted
Right.
with a cell phone. Now, it may be on silent, but if it's buzzing in your pocket, it takes you out of the moment, and you're
Right.
more focused on what is going on outside of the conversation around the table.
And that's presence.
and that's presence, and that's being in the room where your feet are, being with the people that are in the environment you're in, whether that's at work, whether that's at home. Those are important things that you have to be able to do. Now, in the next 40 years, knowledge isn't going to be the basis on which people hire. We have infinite knowledge available to us through the internet. And we can get on ChatGPT, we can get on Claude and learn how to do anything or get information on
Yep.
anything. But the people skills, the being able to sit in a room and understand the emotions that are unspoken, are going to be those skills that are going to be most in demand in the next 40 years. And the young people who take the time and the parents who help them take the time to develop those skills are going to set their young people on a road of being very successful in the future.
One of the things that I encourage people, one of the things that I've done a lot of in my career for a couple decades, was support in support of the vacation rental industry,
Mhm.
right? And one of the things that I would always tell folks is, you know what, when you're on vacation, be on vacation.
Absolutely.
And part of that is when you get together at the end of the day for dinner, literally at the end of the day, not that cliche end of the day, but
Yeah.
when you're together, put the cell phones in a salad bowl,
Mhm.
right?
In the other room.
An empty salad bowl in the other room,
Yeah.
right? And I've had people come back saying we did it and it was so hard. The
Yeah.
kids were like, what do you mean you want to take my cell phone, right? But when they do it, it's like that was one of the best things I've ever done.
Yeah.
And my daughter, she has three kids. They don't have cell phones yet, right? But all screens, the TV goes off, everything goes off, and they are every day at the dinner table having dinner as a family. And
We
yeah,
even took that a little step further. I've got two grandsons, Jack and Henry. Jack will soon be 8. Henry just turned 4. And at every meal, we have what's the question of the day? And the
yeah.
adults don't provide the question of the day, the kids do. And so they will generate a question of the day. We'll go around the table. We'll all answer that question. And then it's the next person's turn to ask a question of the day. So it spurs a conversation and it isn't adult driven, it's kid driven.
I
So
love it.
instantly they're involved in the conversation. They're involved in listening and thinking outside the box. Okay, what are we going to talk about tonight?
And communicating face to face,
Yes, yes,
right? That's
exactly.
so important. And we have to, I mean, we have to get back to it's, um, yeah, we have to get back to our humanity and teach
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
I say all the time that over the years and decades of the rise of technology, right, we've gotten so smart, we've forgotten our heart.
Yeah, exactly.
And we got to get back to heart. We got
Yeah.
to get back to and a big part of it is untraining people about this crazy thing.
And with the advent of AI, we have access to all this knowledge. We don't have to spend our time on the phone. We don't have to spend our time on the computer. And it's impossible now for us to keep up with the rapid acceleration of the knowledge base. Now,
Right.
100 years ago, our knowledge base doubled every 100 years. In the early 70s, it was doubling every 12 years. And today, it doubles every 12 hours. We cannot keep up with
Whoa.
the sum total of human knowledge. It's impossible. So we have to learn to keep the human aspect. We have to keep up with what it is to be human, and let machines do the knowledge base and rely on them. Yeah, we can pull all kinds of, we can learn to do anything off of a machine, but we can't learn to be human off of a machine.
I, that's been my thesis now for over a decade, and in a different way, in a different
Yeah.
way. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I'd be out in front of a big group, I would tell people, right, machine learning was on the rise at the time,
Yeah.
and I would tell people, technology is going to drive us to a place where we're going to experience a renaissance of heart.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we're experiencing it right now. We're in the middle of it. Back then, people were like, "What are you talking about?" Right? But
Yeah,
it's happening.
yeah.
It's happening,
And
and it has to happen.
It does. Now, my background, I've been a funeral director for 45 years.
Uh-huh.
Now, that's a very different occupation and a very different situation. And when we sit down and we meet with families that are planning funerals, the humanity becomes very real.
Oh, yeah.
And so
I can't even imagine.
when we
Yeah.
start looking around the room and trying to understand what's going on, and this is where I train a lot of young people, is like you have to be able to read that body language. You have to see that these seven people that are siblings and mom that are sitting there trying to make funeral arrangements, many of them don't even want to be in the same room together, let alone make decisions together. You have to be able to sense that. You have to be able to understand there's some tension in the room that you have to deal with. And if you don't understand that, you are about five steps behind everybody else.
Hmm.
And so those kind of skills are those human skills that we have to have. And we kind of get a crash course in that kind of hospitality and that kind of understanding of communication. Because when we sit down with a family, we have 3 minutes. 3 minutes from the time we meet them at the door until to really form a connection, to
Right.
establish trust. If we don't do that in 3 minutes, we will spend the rest of the time that we are with them and trying to gain that trust. So those skills become very, very important. And the same thing in the hospitality industry. If you're a hotel clerk, you've got just seconds to establish a relationship with the client that's checking in. If you don't do that, it sets off a potential for a terrible experience in the hospitality of a
Right.
hotel. And so our worlds kind of intersect in that area where you have very short margins in terms of time in which to connect with people. And it's all about connecting with people and providing experience for them in a time when, whether it's a vacation or in our case, it's a funeral service, and providing something they desperately need and want.
One of the little sayings that I kind of pattern my life around goes like this. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Absolutely.
And I mean, on steroids in your business, right? In the
Yeah.
funeral business. Because boy, oh boy, you're suddenly faced with people
Hmm.
with incredibly raw emotions,
Yeah,
right? Not only about the deceased, but maybe about the people that were left behind,
exactly.
like you said, and being able to read that room is really important.
Yeah, and in funeral service as well as in hospitality, we can do 99 out of 1,000 things right, but the only thing that people will remember when they leave is the one thing that didn't
Right,
go right.
right.
And so there's a tremendous amount of pressure to meet the expectations of the client and do that in a way that exceeds their expectations and, for lack of a better word, wows them.
Yeah.
Our goal when we plan funerals is when we sit down and talk with a family, we talk about while we're planning, let's keep in mind one thing. When we plan this service and we put this all together, let's plan something that when your friends and family leave the funeral, they walk away saying, wow, I'm glad I came, instead of, boy, am I glad that's over.
I have never heard wow associated with funeral services.
But when you do that, it
That's
it
awesome.
changes the whole context from
Totally. Absolutely.
one of being somber and sad to one of celebrating a life and
Yep.
really bringing in who that person was, and being that hospitality to the people who and treating them as guests that are coming to that service. How do we make them feel like valued guests?
That is so cool. I've never heard hospitality and funeral services tied together from the same, but it's real,
It
right? I
is.
mean, you're talking about human emotions. You're talking about
Yep.
humanity. You're talking about caring and serving others, right?
Yes.
And in the hospitality business, I mean, if folks don't leave your experience going, wow, you missed it.
You
You
failed,
missed it,
yes.
right?
Because
I mean,
then you
yeah,
become a commodity. And it's like, I can get a
right.
hotel room cheaper down the street. Why would I come to your hotel? You
Yeah.
have to wow them. You have to make it so powerful that they want to tell their friends, this is the place you want to stay.
And they want to come back.
Yes.
And they want to come back,
Absolutely.
right? And same thing as in funeral directing.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, you give
And
people a great experience
and
and
we play a lot longer game than you do in hospitality. Our next generation is 20 years from now. So we have to impact them enough with this particular service that 20 years from now they remember this is our funeral home. They took good care of us. Now, if you think about that in hotels and in hospitality, how
yeah.
do you make that client feel 20 years later, this is the place I want to go back to? It's difficult, but it's necessary to play
Whoa.
that long game.
Yeah. That is, well, that certainly changes the calculus though, right?
Yes.
When you're thinking in in those long-term terms, if you
Mhm.
will. But yeah, it's one of those things. Warren Buffett famously said, people don't remember price. They never remember how much you pay, but they do remember how you treated them. And you treat people well, and you don't do it. You don't treat people well because you want something from them. You treat people well because you want to treat them well, right?
Right.
In your case, you want to comfort them. You want, my gosh, you want to give them confidence that you're going to give their loved ones a really beautiful goodbye,
Yeah.
right? Or
And
bon voyage.
and those gifts of hospitality, they don't show up when the client shows up. They show
Right.
up years and years and years before as you're a young person growing up, as it's shown to you what it means to be hospitable to people coming into your home, coming into your business, and you learn that and you practice it and you make it part of your soul so that when you have that customer come to your front desk or come to your front office, it's automatic. And it needs to be that automatic that the customer doesn't even know that this is something that's been practiced for 20 years.
And if it can't be automatic, somehow you have to find a way to make it automatic. I'll just give you a quick example. Two of my favorite fast food restaurants are Chick-fil-A and
Hmm.
In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah. Hmm.
In-N-Out Burger is kind of a West Coast thing, I think. But the reason why I like them so much is not only because their food's pretty good, but because their employees have manners. They
Yes.
say
Yeah.
please and
Hmm.
they say thank you. They don't say no problem. They don't say my pleasure. They don't say, you know, whatever these people, young people say now. They say please and thank you.
Yes.
At the end of the transaction, every time they say thank you.
Hmm. Yes.
And
Now,
I'm not the, and I don't have to say thank you to them first. In
right.
most places,
And that's
I find my,
training.
huh?
That is training.
It is
Every
trained.
single person that comes
Yep.
into their store is trained. Now, we have a grocery chain in the Midwest called Fairway, which it's a small grocery chain, um, but it's a wonderful example of training young people. And they have bag boys still, and and Fairway still takes your groceries to your car, unloads them, and they train their young people. And these are kids that are just in junior high and high school. They train them, okay, talk about the weather, ask the people if they have any plans for the evening, the weekend, the holidays, whatever's coming up. And every time one of these young people take my groceries or my wife's groceries to the car, we know what conversation we're going to have. But they're training them to engage with the client.
Yeah.
And when you and I watch and I see these kids when they're going to get out of school and go on to other occupations, they're developing people skills that you aren't getting anywhere else because nobody bothers to train the young people anymore. They plug them in and they work them with whatever skills they have until they burn them out. And that's
Yep.
not building a
Yep.
culture for the future.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. So how are we going to save the world, you and me, Jay?
Well, we are going to save it one person at a time.
There you go.
I've always argued for a young person, everything depends on what we do with the next generation, because our society and everything that we hold dear is always one generation away from extinction. And it only takes one adult to radically affect the life of a young person.
Yep.
And if you can reach that young person in a way that helps put them on the right direction, you have made a difference for the next generations.
Yep.
And I was really fortunate when I started in funeral service. I had two wonderful mentors, and there was a very good contrast, a very odd dichotomy in the two gentlemen. They were both at the funeral home I was working at. Mr. Bickford was 85 years old when I met him. Yeah, I think he had license number two in the state of Iowa, but he was the same in every single environment, whether it was working in the funeral home, in his church, with his family, in the community. He was always this rock solid person that was full of integrity, full of compassion, um, just very wise person. And on the flip side, the owner of the funeral home was 27 years old. He was very good at work and he was very good at teaching me what I needed to know about funeral service. But as soon as he punched out at night, his life was completely different. He didn't have the foundation. He didn't have an understanding of any values or any mission in his life. He wasn't active in his church. He wasn't really active in his community. And ultimately, he ended up addicted to drugs. He was an alcoholic. He lost his business. He lost his family. But when we can mentor the kind of things that Mr. Bickford mentored, and we can learn from the examples Mr. Steen showed, we have an opportunity to make sure that those negative things don't repeat in the next generation. And
Right.
that's our obligation. As people who have learned from life's experience, we need to mentor and pass that information on. Not just how to do a job, but how to be good people, how to be thoughtful, intelligent leaders, and how to pass on not only the information I'm sharing with you so you can use it today, but how you can pass it on to the next generation.
This podcast, this
Mhm.
podcast,
Mhm.
my daughter had asked me to start this podcast 17 years ago.
Mhm.
And 15 years later, she asked me, she says, Dad, when are you going to do your podcast? And I told her, I said, I'm not going to do a podcast. Why? Who's going to want to listen to me? And I just don't want to deal with the haters. I don't want to deal with, And she says, Dad, you know what? You've always said that when you lift one person, you lift the world.
Right.
She says, do you still believe that?
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm going, here it comes.
Yeah. It's like you're back, your words are coming back to haunt you. Yeah.
Exactly.
But if we look at social media, we can be the change we want to see. We can say, you know what, if I wouldn't say it to the
Oh,
person face to face, I'm certainly not going to post it. And that simple rule will change the whole way we look at social media because so many people hide behind the anonymity of social media. I
yeah.
can say anything, I can be part of the crowd, I can jump on instead of looking at, okay, I don't have all the information. And in anything that's out there, you only have one small piece of the whole story. And so for us to jump on to something that we really don't know anything about, or if we do, to put it out there in social media, why? I mean, it's not our job to do that. If we can do things that affirm people, that build people up, that congratulate people, we can change social media one comment at a time. And I drastically changed my social media um, postings about 4 years ago because I was one of these, I was on the news all the time and I was always angry and I couldn't understand it. And when you begin to realize that the networks are in business to keep you engaged, to keep
Yes.
you tuning in and keep you agitated enough that you want to see what's
More.
next. And it
Yep.
doesn't matter if you're on the far right or the far left, they're doing the same thing. They got to get you in so you're engaged. And so you start typing hateful things to be part of that group. And it's like, let's let this go. That's not who I am. That's not who we should be as people.
You
So
know, you just nailed it. The insidious thing about social media is that it tracks you.
yeah.
And folks, listen up. This should piss you off
Hmm.
because it pissed me off when I figured this out. It's one of those things where the algorithms, they're constantly monitoring what you are interested in. And if
Right.
you are posting bad stuff out there, and if you're looking at bad stuff, guess what it's going to feed you?
Yeah,
bad stuff.
exactly.
And it's just going to reinforce it over and over and over again. And all of a sudden, garbage in is absolutely garbage out. You let
Exactly.
that, you let that crap into your mind, and all of a sudden it becomes your reality. And it's being constantly reinforced, right?
Exactly. Now, you take that same concept though, and you layer in AI and you want to make a change, say in your workplace. You start looking at, okay, this is the work environment I really wish I worked in. This is the work environment I want to produce for the people that work for me. So you start looking at how can I use AI to change my work environment? And you look at me like, what are you talking about? You can't use AI to change your work environment. You can. You train your AI agent to understand your values, your mission, the culture you want to reflect. And then you start having your staff, your employees, and yourself run your correspondence, whether that be email, text message, through that AI model. And all of a sudden, it changes the tone of your correspondence. So if you want something that is more reflective of being compassionate to each other, being respectful of each other, every single communication that goes back and forth now reflects that. And that's one of the things that I'm using in helping change cultures in workplaces I'm working with is don't just write an email. Use AI to help you do it through your
Better.
vision and your values so that every communication, whether it be internal or external to your customers, reflects what you say your company's values are. And quietly, your culture changes.
And it's especially important, and it probably the one of the greatest opportunities in terms of using AI in your communications is when you want to send a negative communication. When you
Absolutely.
when you feel like when you feel like oh right, and you
Right.
just you're just in this really bad mental space.
Mhm.
Take whatever it is you wrote, stick it into ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or
Right.
whatever you use, and say,
Mhm.
please take this email I just wrote and make it more professional and help me communicate it in a kind way. It will take your email and tell you and convert it into exactly what you want to communicate without
Yeah.
ruining people.
And you still have the opportunity to look at it and say, okay, this is really what I want to
Right,
say, but I want to change a few things.
right,
But
right.
that's the beauty of using AI is that you get to decide. You get to go back and forth with it. Say, this isn't quite what I want. Now layer this in. And pretty soon you have every point you wanted to make in the email done in a way that reflects the values that you say you want to reflect.
It's amazing because earlier, folks, Jay and I were talking about the company that I'm working with, and it's an AI company that's building that has built an AI native hospitality business system
Mhm.
platform. And one of the things, Jay, that we've done is we have integrated phone calls, texts, all forms of communication into the system. So one of the things it can do is, as a reservationist is listening and talking to somebody, the right side of the screen is the AI listening to that conversation.
Mhm.
And the AI, based on how the company has said, we want to communicate this way, we want to be exciting but professional, right? It's listening to the conversation and coaching that reservationist on what to say, how to say it, what things that other person might be interested in talking about. And it's wonderful. It's
Right.
wonderful because the reservationist is lifting that customer and giving the customer exactly what they want in a way that's kind, professional, well-mannered, right?
Mhm.
And AI can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and Brian Gorman, who does a lot of work in AI, has written extensively about this. Is that when you start bringing AI into your organization, it completely changes your organization. You can't look at it as a side because as your people start using, particularly with like email and communication like that, and they read back what AI created for them, it is training them how to think in the future. So next
Yes.
time that they're writing that email with or without AI, it starts to reflect that kind of culture, that kind of language. And so you're passively teaching them what you want them to process data through, how they should be treating each other, even though they may not have been trained all the way through. And this is how we treat our coworkers and our clients and our supervisors. It is training them. This is a better way to approach communication than we've done before. And you start learning that.
Thank you, Jay. I
Mhm,
mean, what a wonderful, wonderful use case
mhm.
for people. If you're not using AI, folks, this is a great, of course you can go in and ask it for great cake recipes and you
Oh,
can,
yeah,
if you hear something on some advertisement, you can say, is that true? Right? You could do
yeah.
stuff like that. But this is life-changing.
It
Being able
is.
to using AI to help you understand how to communicate. Because the more you use it and the more you study what the AI presents back to you, the more you're learning,
Yeah.
right? And
And
eventually you learn how to write,
yeah.
in a clear and concise way.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand about AI is based on a large language model. It is communication at its very core. It is always anticipating what is the next most probable thing that comes after this, based on centuries of human communication and
Right.
as much information as it can possibly absorb. And you can continue to teach it. But based on all that, it teaches us how to use good language. Now, I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of writing of articles, and one of the newest tools I found is overseas. I'm starting to write for different markets, like over in Ireland. Now, some of our terminology isn't the same here. So when
Hmm.
I write about something here, it doesn't mean the same thing in Ireland.
Right.
So I write the article. And I say, AI, this is going to go in a professional publication in Ireland. Help me put it in the language,
Wonderful.
in the vernacular that they use, and boom. And then I go back and take the next step, which is what we should all do. Show me what the changes were. So now I am learning that, okay, in England, a
Uh,
lift is an elevator.
yeah. Yeah.
In England, an umbrella is a bumper chute. You don't know those things when you're here, but it will help you learn and help you expand your vernacular when you're looking at going into different markets.
That is amazing. I never knew that. An umbrella
Yeah,
is a bumper chute?
it's a bumper chute.
I had no idea. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
I never did that because I never thought of it
yeah,
in terms of, okay, show me the difference. Show me the
yeah.
differences.
And that's really some of the real value, particularly when you're starting to learn AI. And you're asking it, you provided a prompt. You say, I want you to do this for me. And then you ask her, say, from now on, whenever I ask you to do something and we've finished it, suggest a better way that I might have approached this. And when it finishes the project, it says, this prompt would have made it easier for you. So now you're learning how to write better prompts and it's
Okay.
teaching you.
Okay, so I want to rewind the tape a little bit because for some people that might be getting freaked out. Okay, so when we talk about agents and we talk about this
Mhm,
the AI learning, right?
mhm.
It's as simple as this. People go, "Oh my gosh, how am I ever going to learn how to do an agent?" Well, forget that word,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
All it is using it, okay? Because
It's learning.
as you are using it, it's collecting this information about you, who you are, how you communicate. When you say to change it into something professional and kind, it's going, oh, you're a professional and kind person,
Mhm.
right? And as the more you use it, it becomes kind of like your assistant or
Exactly.
your partner
Mhm,
or in my case, and I can't believe I'm going to say it, my dad,
mhm.
right? Who used to take my writings, he used to demand that I showed him what I wrote and how I wrote. And he would take red ink and he would just strike things out and rewrite it and all this. And it wasn't a fun experience. But now using AI,
Yeah.
it just gives it to you.
Yeah.
And then you can, like Jay said, you can just say, okay, show me the differences
Mhm.
on my writing compared to what you did.
Yeah.
And boom, what a great learning experience.
And taking that a step further, you're giving presentation. And we've all listened to presentations that were dry, and it's like, boy, I'm glad that's over. And we've listened to those presentations that were engaging, and you wanted to pay attention. And so you now have the ability with AI to say, this is a speech I heard that I found very engaging. I like the style, I like the way it was presented. Teach me how to do this in my own writing better, in my own presentations better. And it'll start, when it's writing like a speech, and I do a lot of speaking. And so I'll say, this is my points I want, but now do it in my storytelling style.
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
it in the
very powerful.
style that you have learned from me. And all of a sudden it's boom. It's like, yeah, I don't talk in facts and figures and numbers, but I do talk in stories. And so it'll take all of those numbers and all the data I gave it and say, okay, Jay, if you were going to say it, this is how you would say it. Boom.
It's incredible, folks.
Yeah.
And that's why, I always tell folks, Jay, if you haven't, you know, I've been in technology since 1984 with IBM. And through 40 years of technology, this is the first technology that gives you the opportunity, that encourages you to let it teach you how to learn it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's, I mean, it's the tech. Ask the tech. And here's the thing, ask AI, ask
Mhm.
ChatGPT, how do I learn how to use you?
Exactly.
What what
Well,
are what are some of the things that you can do for me? What are some of those common things that you can do for people that I can learn from? How do I use you?
mhm.
And it'll tell you.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have an owner's manual, right?
And
You
and
just have to do it.
we all do it, in business, we do a lot of social media posts. Yeah, I mean, it's a constant thing we have to keep out there in marketing. And you can ask your AI, say, develop me a strategic plan for my social media posts. I need them scheduled one per week over the next 52 weeks. And within minutes, it will have a complete schedule of themes based for you to write on based on what you've already given it for information. And then you can take, okay, week one, this is my theme. Help me write this social media post for week one. Now, let's go over to another AI tool called Adobe Firefly. Create an image that reflects this storyline. Now you
Hmm.
have an image to go with the story and you have a
Hmm.
post. And you do this every week and it takes about 10 minutes a day. And you have very meaningful social media posts that have good content, have good graphics, and it hasn't involved a whole marketing department.
What was that called? Firefly what?
It's called Firefly.
Okay. Is it a Adobe product?
It's an Adobe product, yes.
I'm gonna try it. I'm
We
gonna try it.
I use that a lot. It's a wonderful photo editing program.
Okay.
And in funeral service, a lot of times families will bring in a group photo, and we've got to get one person out of that photo, and then we have to take that photo and make it something that we can put on the front of a funeral folder.
Got it.
And usually it's not an image that is anywhere near ready for that. But using a product like Adobe Firefly, we can say isolate the person in the plaid shirt from the rest and produce an image that would be suitable for the front of a funeral folder. It's that simple, and it'll go to work on
Oh, okay.
it.
You guys, and I'm talking to my audience here. It's please, please, if you haven't started using AI, um, please start using it. It's easy. And just like I said, first question is, okay, what do I need to learn about you? That's all. That's it. And you're off to the races. And for those of you who are using it, we gave you some ideas. Jay just gave you some ideas on how to make things better. It's just really, really amazing. And I love the example that we talked about, Jay. And I mean, here we are. We started a conversation talking about funeral directing, right?
Yeah, it's like,
And now, you guys, I mean, we're AI with a funeral director.
Yeah.
Right? If you're thinking to yourself, well, gosh, I don't know if it applies to me. It applies to everybody. But the thing I love about it the most is, for example, what Jay just shared with us about how you can use AI to help us with our writing and help us with our communication to be more human,
Yeah.
right? To be more human.
Mhm.
And that's where we have to go, everybody. And that's where whether you come along or not, this is where the world's going, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
Now, I work with a lot of different writing groups, and writers are odd people, and they're finally coming around to, okay, maybe AI isn't so bad. But there's a group that are very anti-AI. It's like that's
Hmm.
and a lot of those people fall into the fiction world. AI shouldn't create fiction, and I work a lot in the nonfiction area where you're dealing with a lot of information, a lot of facts, history, uh,
Right.
real information that affects real people, and I always coach them on the fact that there are so many stories that are lost in our society because not everybody's a writer. But imagine that your grandmother can talk into a microphone and start sharing some of the memories that she had from when she was 5, 6, 20, 40, 50 years old, and put those stories into an AI that will allow it to process it, to put it in a format that those stories never go away,
Yep.
that they can print them into something. We now have a living history that we never had before.
Yep.
But if we don't have AI, if we don't make use of those tools, so many people who say, I'm not a writer, will never record those stories.
Yep. Yep. That's right. That's right. Wow. Wow. All
Mhm.
right, Jay. Here we go. Wrap us up. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want your wow experience for my listeners to be?
I, I want them to understand that we live in a world of AI, but we will always be human.
Yep.
And as humans, we have to understand that we are in charge of where AI goes, that it's not going away, that we just as well embrace it. We're already, everybody who tells me that they're not using AI, yeah, if they use Google Maps or if they use a navigating program in their car, they're using AI. If they're
Yeah,
using, yeah, I mean,
exactly.
you're using it,
Exactly.
you just don't know it.
That's right.
Just as well learn it. And you are never too old to start learning something new. 3 years ago, I didn't even know what AI was. And now I'm certified in four different areas to train it. And I'm 65. It's like, don't stop learning. And so, most people in my age group, they're retiring. And I tell my wife, I said, I'm just getting my second wind.
There you go.
There's a
There you
lot of living left to do, and we're going to do it, and we're going to embrace it. We're going to continue to learn. We're going to keep our minds engaged. We're going to keep our bodies healthy, so that we can enjoy the balance of the lives that we have.
Wonderful. I want to end it with this. Okay.
Mhm.
I believe that the days of college degrees being a measure of your aptitude and your ability to be productive are going to be gone in
I
less than
agree.
5 years.
I agree.
Okay. And so for young people who are looking at college, go to college. I love college for one reason, and that is because it teaches you to think at a different level. Now, having said that, if you spend Jay just said, you just heard Jay said
Mhm.
that in 3 years he became certified in AI in four different areas. Okay? So folks, if you spend you're going to go to college for 4 years. And for you older folks who are out of college, think about that window, 4 years.
Mhm.
Okay? You can become certified in AI. People who understand and know how to use AI are going to be the most productive people
Mhm.
that that are out there.
Yeah.
And so if you go to college for 4 years, spend time during college becoming an AI expert. If you're not going to go to college, AI is the equalizer.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, kids in third world countries can learn AI.
Exactly.
right? If they have connections to the internet, which is starting to happen. My screen just went crazy. What just happened?
AI took over. Sorry.
It might have. Whoa, what the heck was
I,
that?
when you're talking about learning this stuff, there are so many good opportunities out there, things like Coursera, which don't cost a lot of money, but you can take unlimited classes through Coursera for, a small fee of like $50 a month. And you can learn literally anything. I took a culinary course from Harvard University and got certification in culinary arts because this sounds like fun. I'm going to do it. So it doesn't have to be expensive. And many of these courses are free of charge.
Unbelievable. Folks, uh, share this. Share this. I mean, we might for some of you folks out there listening, we just set a new path for you. I mean, this little podcast episode with Jay Jacobson. Jay, if people want to learn more about you, where do they go? What do they do?
They can find me on my website, which is jacobsonprostaff.com. They can find me on LinkedIn, Jay Jacobson, and they can get my book, Lead by Legendary Example, which is available in both print and audio from Amazon and from Apple books as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Jay, I'm gonna buy your book. I'm gonna buy your book.
Well,
And
it'll be unlike any other leadership book that you've ever read because it was a book that I never set out to write. It was a book that started off actually sitting in hospital waiting rooms, hospital rooms when my wife was going through many surgeries over the last couple of years. And when I got done with all that, it just kind of turned into a book. And it's from real life experience. It's
it's
real
all
stories
experiential.
and
I love it.
real pillars that will help you in building leadership that lasts.
Wonderful. And this podcast is all about sharing experiences.
Mhm.
So, Jay, thank you. Thank you for joining me. I love you. God bless you for everything that you're doing and lifting people, and especially your profession of lifting people in their greatest need. And folks, share this. Share this. There are people out there. This episode can set a new path for folks that you share this with, and it's all cool. It's all so very cool. So with that, I love you. God bless you. Thank you again for joining us. Please subscribe because it helps us. Help. Yeah. Anyway, please subscribe. Okay. We'll see you next time. And all right. Thanks, Jay.